quiet hallway, a closed nursery door, and on the other side, a whisper so cruel that it freezes Cora Crawley where she stands. She wasn't meant to hear it. She wasn't even supposed to be home yet. But in that single, stolen moment, she learns the awful truth about the woman trusted to care for her grandchildren. A truth that will change the household before the day is over. The morning at Downton feels calm. It's almost too calm, as the house follows its usual rhythm. Footmen hurry past with trays, maids glide through hallways with fresh linens, and the nursery sits tucked away at the top of the house like a world of its own. After the birth of baby George and little Sybbie's return from Ireland, the family believed they had finally reached a steady routine again. And in the center of that routine stood Nanny West, polite, proper, and seemingly perfect for the job to the family. She carried herself with an air of discipline and experience. She spoke softly when Lady Cora or Lord Grantham appeared, always, showing a gentle smile that looked warm enough to trust. Everyone assumed she kept the children safe, cared for, and loved. But what the Crawleys didn't know was that the nursery had started to feel colder since she arrived. Not physically, but in the small ways that only children can sense at first. Sybbie, sweet and cheerful, seemed quieter these days. She clung a little longer to Tom Branson during goodbyes, her small face drawn close to his coat as if she didn't want to let go. Baby George, meanwhile, received every ounce of Nanny West's attention. She fussed over him constantly, straightening blankets, smoothing his hair, and telling anyone within earshot how important it was that his routine remain perfect. When Sybbie tried to play too loudly, she was shushed. She asked for a story, she was told to sit quietly. When Tom Branson brought her up for a visit, Nanny West's smile tightened, thin and forced, as if she could barely hide her annoyance. Most days, the nursery staff whispered about her attitude, but none of them dared to question her. After all, she was the nanny, and the nanny always knew best. Downstairs, the servants sensed something wasn't right. They noticed how Sybbie would wander into the kitchen looking for comfort. They saw how Nanny West barely acknowledged her unless absolutely necessary. But with no clear proof and no authority to intervene, the staff kept their suspicions to themselves, and so the household carried on. Unaware that a storm was quietly forming behind the nursery door, a storm that would erupt the moment Cora Crawley heard the words that no mother or grandmother should ever hear spoken about a child under her roof, the change begins quietly, almost like a shadow that grows longer each day. No one in the house can point to one single moment when things started to feel wrong, but the shift is there, subtle, uneasy, and impossible to ignore once it settles in. Nanny West's true nature reveals itself not through sudden explosions, but through small, cutting habits that slip into the nursery like cold drafts no one invited. Sybbie becomes the first to feel it. She reaches out for Nanny West's hand during a walk in the garden, only to have it gently pushed away with a stiff smile. Her toys are taken from her under the excuse of teaching discipline. Her laughter, once bright enough to fill the halls, is met with scolding looks and quiet warnings to behave like a proper child. She doesn't understand the reason behind any of it. She only knows the nursery feels less like a safe place and more like a place where she must tiptoe. Tom Branson senses the difference too, though he can't quite name it. Every time he visits the nursery, Nanny West greets him with a strained politeness that never reaches her eyes. She stands a little too straight, speaks a little too formally, as if his presence is something to endure rather than welcome. When he hugs Sybbie goodbye, Nanny West hovers nearby, stiff and impatient, as though she's waiting for him to leave so she can restore her own version of order. Meanwhile, baby George receives nothing but warmth, smiles, and endless attention. Nanny West coos over him, praises his every sigh, and behaves as though he is the only child who truly matters. The difference in how she treats them is clear to anyone who watches long enough, but no one watches long enough. Everyone is too busy, too trusting, too unaware of the divide forming in the nursery. Even the staff begin whispering downstairs. Daisy notices Sybbie's quietness during meals. Anna comments on Nanny West's sharp tone. Mrs. Patmore frowns at the way Sybbie clings to her, as if hoping someone, anyone, will stay with her a little longer. Something is off, Everyone feels it, but no one dares say so out loud. Who would? Accuse a nanny without proof? The tension grows day by day, tightening the air around the children until the nursery becomes a place split in two, warmth for one child, coldness for the other. And though no one says it yet, a question hangs. Over Downton, like a cloud preparing for rain, what happens when someone finally sees what Nanny West has been hiding? The day everything changes begins without warning. It isn't dramatic at first, it isn't loud, it's almost ordinary. And maybe that's why the truth hits so hard. Cora Crawley returns home earlier than planned, her footsteps soft as she moves through the grand hall with a calm smile. She's been away for a short trip, and all she wants is to see her grandchildren. She doesn't ring a bell or call for a maid. She simply follows her heart straight toward the nursery as she climbs the stairs. She notices something strange, a silence that feels too thick, almost unnatural. The nursery is never silent, it should be filled with small sounds, baby breaths, toys clattering, tiny feet pattering. But today, there's nothing. Just a heavy stillness. Cora pauses at the top of the stairs, listening. At first, she hears only the faint rustle of fabric, maybe a drawer closing. Then she hears a voice. Soft but sharp, like a whisper wrapped in anger. It's Nanny West. Cora moves closer, careful not to make the floorboards creak. She doesn't intend to hide, but something in the nanny's tone stops her cold. Nanny West mutters under her breath, her voice low and bitter. Cora can't see inside the nursery yet, but she can hear everything. She hears the nanny scolding someone, the rhythm too harsh, too cruel for a child. Then she hears a small whimper. Cora's heart tightens. That sound, that tiny frightened sound. Sybbie, but it's the next words that freeze Cora completely in place. Words spoken with such venom that they don't even sound human. You stay in there, you little half-breed. Lady Sybil should have known better. The world seems to stop. The walls, the floor, the air, everything feels suddenly unreal. Cora's breath catches in her chest. She needs only a moment to understand the full, ugly meaning behind those words. Sybbie isn't just being ignored, she's being insulted. She's being punished for who her mother was, for who her father is. A slow, controlled fire rises inside Cora. It isn't the type of anger that erupts. It's the kind that sharpens. It's the kind that grows steady, cold, and focused. Without making a sound, she steps forward and reaches for the nursery door. At that moment, the calm, gentle Lady Grantham disappears, replaced by a woman who will protect her family at any cost. She pushes the door open, and the room falls silent. Nanny West turns, startled. Sybbie's eyes widen with fear. Cora Crawley, standing in the doorway with quiet fury, realizes she is about to end something that never should have begun. The moment Cora steps into the nursery, the atmosphere shifts like a sudden drop in temperature. The soft pastel walls, the neatly folded blankets, the gentle rocking chair, none of it feels innocent anymore. The room, once a place of warmth, now feels like a stage hiding a terrible truth. And in the center of it stands Nanny West, her face tightening the second she realizes she's no longer alone. Cora doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't need to. Her silence carries more weight than any shout could. She walks toward Sybbie first, steady and composed, as if she's afraid that any sudden movement might make the little girl shrink even further. She kneels beside her, touches her cheek, and whispers something soft, something only meant for a frightened child who has been hurting in secret. Sybbie leans into her, small fingers curling around Cora's sleeve for safety. Then Cora stands, turning slowly toward Nanny West. Her eyes are calm, but there's steel beneath the surface. "Would you like to explain?" she asks, her voice steady as glass, "what I just heard." The nanny blinks, caught between shock and arrogance. She straightens her posture, smoothing her apron as she forces a smile too tight to be kind. "Lady Grantham, I'm sure you misunderstood," she begins. "Children can be difficult. Sybbie simply needs stronger discipline." Cora's expression doesn't change. No reaction, no acceptance, just quiet scrutiny. "Discipline," she repeats. Is that what you call locking a child alone in a room? Or insulting her because of who her parents are? Do you think that is discipline? Worthy of this house? The last word lands like a stone. Nanny West's mask cracks. Her eyes flash with irritation, and the truth slips through the cracks of her false politeness. Some children, she says sharply, should be raised with limits. Especially when their background as she stops herself, but the damage has been done. Cora's jaw tightens ever so slightly. She takes a step forward, not aggressive, but final. Don't finish that sentence, she warns softly. Not unless you wish to make this even worse for yourself, the nanny sputters, trying to explain, trying to twist her words into something harmless. But Cora has already made up her mind. The dismissal does not unfold with shouting or chaos. Instead, it happens with a chilling calmness, one that makes the moment even more powerful. Cora stands perfectly still, her presence filling the nursery with a quiet authority that leaves no room for debate. Nanny West, who only minutes earlier carried herself with pride and superiority, now looks unsettled, as though the walls themselves have turned against her. Cora walks to the window, pulls the curtain aside, and lets a beam of daylight flood the room. It feels symbolic, like she is dragging every hidden shadow into the open. Without turning around, she speaks in a tone that leaves no doubt that her decision is final. You will pack your belongings, she says, each word crisp and measured. And you will leave this house before the hour is over, Nanny West's breath catches. For the first time, real fear flickers in her eyes. Not fear of punishment, but fear of losing the position she believed she ruled with unquestioned control. Lady Grantham, please, she stammers, trying to regain her composure. Surely. You don't intend to dismiss me without hearing my reasons, Cora turns sharply. And the nanny's words collapse under the weight of her gaze. I heard enough, Cora says. And what I heard was cruelty. Cruelty toward a child who has already lost her mother. A child who should be cherished, not judged. Nanny West's face pales. She tries again, reaching for excuses, twisting her apron nervously. Sybbie is difficult, she mutters. And sometimes firmness is needed too. Firmness. Cora interrupts, is not locking a little girl alone. It is not insulting her. It is not treating her as less than her cousin because of where she comes from. The nanny's shoulders slump. The room feels unbearably still, broken only by the soft sound of Sybbie's sniffles. Cora steps closer, not angrily, but with the certainty of someone who knows her duty. You will not spend another moment in the presence of my grandchildren, she says, and you will not speak to them again. Mrs. Hughes will oversee your departure. The finality in her voice leaves no space for pleading, no space for forgiveness. Just then, Anna enters quietly. Having been summoned by a passing servant who sensed something was wrong, she freezes at the sight of Cora's expression and immediately steps to Sybbie's side, lifting the child gently into her arms. Cora nods at Anna, a silent acknowledgement that Sybbie is safe now, protected. Nanny West looks around desperately for a single alive, but finds none. The walls that once held her authority now feel like they're pushing her out. Her pride collapses, replaced by a stiff, bitter resignation. Without another word, she bows her head and walks out of the nursery, her footsteps heavy with the knowledge that she has been erased from Downton Abbey in the span of a single, unforgiving moment. And as the door swings shut behind her, the entire house seems to exhale, relieved to see the darkness finally leave. Nursery feels different the moment Nanny West is gone. The tension that once clung to the air like invisible dust begins to lift, slowly but surely, as though the room itself is relieved to breathe again. The soft ticking of the clock becomes audible. The curtains sway gently with the breeze. The quiet hum of the house settles into something peaceful, something safe. Cora remains standing in the center of the nursery, her hands clasped in front of her, not out of uncertainty, but as a way to gather herself after the storm she'd just ended. For a moment, she simply watches Sybbie, who sits curled in Anna's lap, wiping away the last of her tears with the back of her tiny hand. It is only now, in the quiet, that Cora realizes just how much the little girl has been carrying alone. She kneels beside her again, brushing a soft curl from Sybbie's cheek. "You're safe now," Cora whispers, her voice warm, steady, and full of promise. "No one will ever speak to you that way again." Sybbie nods slowly, leaning into her. With a trust that has been waiting to bloom, the room, once shaped by fear, begins to feel like a sanctuary again. Cora lifts her gently into her arms and holds her close, not just as a grandmother, but as someone determined never to let this pain return. Moments later, Tom Branson bursts into the hallway, breathless after being told something had happened upstairs. When he sees Cora holding Sybbie, confusion flickers into concern. Cora hands Sybbie to him carefully, watching the girl instantly brighten at the sight of her father. "Is she all right?" Tom asks, his voice tight with worry. Cora offers a calm, firm nod. "She will be," she says. "I've taken care of it." She doesn't explain every detail, but Tom sees enough in her expression to understand that whatever caused Sybbie harm no longer has a place under this roof. Gratitude softens his features, and he presses a gentle kiss onto his daughter's forehead, murmuring soothing words only a parent can offer. Downstairs, whispers begin to travel through the servant corridors. Mrs. Hughes stands a little straighter as she oversees the nanny's departure, making sure no trace of her coldness is left behind. The staff exchange quiet glances, surprised yet relieved. Some had suspected, some had noticed, but none had expected Cora to act so swiftly, so decisively. As for baby George, he stirs in his crib, unaware of the storm that passed through his nursery. Cora walks over to him, adjusting his blanket with the soft, practiced touch of a mother. She looks between the two children, one sleeping peacefully, the other resting in her father's arms, and she feels a calm certainty settle in her chest. This is what matters: their safety, their happiness, their future. And as she stands at the nursery door, watching Tom carry Sybbie downstairs for a warm meal and extra comfort, Cora makes a silent vow: never again will cruelty be allowed to hide in these walls. The house settles into a new kind of silence, a peaceful one, untouched by fear or favoritism. For the first time in weeks, the nursery feels whole again. Sunlight rests softly on the toys scattered across the rug. The gentle sound of Sybbie's laughter echoes faintly from downstairs, carried upward like a sign that the darkness has finally passed. Cora stands by the doorway a moment longer, taking in the room that had hidden so much hurt. Nothing appears different on the surface. The same crib, the same rocking horse, the same soft blankets neatly folded. But beneath it, everything has changed. The nursery is no longer under the shadow of someone who divided the children with cruel judgment. It is a space reborn, cleansed not by loud confrontation, by firm protection and unwavering love. She steps into the hallway, closing the door gently behind her, almost as if sealing the chapter shut. Lady Grantham's footsteps echo softly as she moves through the long corridor, but there is no rush in her pace. She carries herself with quiet certainty, the kind that comes from knowing she did exactly what needed to be done. There is no guilt, no second guessing.
Almi.
The calm strength of a woman who has defended her family. Downstairs, Tom Branson sits with Sybbie curled against him, her tiny hands wrapped around a warm cup of milk. Mrs. Hughes stands nearby, her expression soft with approval. The servants exchange calm glances, grateful that the truth came to light before any more harm was done. The household feels united again, balanced, steady, and grounded. Cora pauses at the bottom of the stairs. Watching the scene unfold, she sees Sybbie's smile return, brighter now that fear no longer stands in her shadow. She sees Tom relax for the first time in days, relieved that someone finally understood what his daughter had been too young to explain. And she sees a home restored, not perfect, but protected. A home where kindness, not cruelty, sets the tone. This moment becomes a quiet reminder of the deep, powerful truth that runs through Downton Abbey. Titles and status can shape a household, but character is what truly defines it. Nanny West believed she held power because she watched over the children, but Cora, with her steady heart and unwavering instincts, proved that real power comes from compassion, from standing up for the vulnerable, from refusing to let cruelty take root in a place meant for love. As the evening light spills into the grand hall, Cora walks toward her family, ready to join them. She knows challenges will return. Downton Abbey is never short of drama, but she also knows this: as long as she stands within its walls, no child under her care will ever be left unseen or unprotected again. And so the day closes, not with chaos, but with calm. Not with fear, but with comfort. A wrong has been righted. A child has been saved. And Downton Abbey, once again, stands tall, held together by the quiet strength of its mistress, Lady Cora Crawley.